There's evidence throughout the whole story alluding to the death of each of the Straw Hats, so using common sense and foreshadowing, we're going to be ordering which Straw Hats are most likely to die, starting with the character least likely to die, Brook. Now, besides the obvious fact that he is a skeleton in the world of One Piece with people made of poison and lava, that isn't a strong enough reason for Brook to live. But what is a strong enough reason? It's the fact that his dream is to meet back up with Laboon, and it's been set up essentially since he joined the crew. So I don't really know what the point of him would be if the sole purpose of his character is to meet back up with Laboon and then not deliver on that. And although Oda likes to throw curveballs at us, I don't see him doing this in the department of killing off characters. Like, Jesus Christ, Pell survived. Pell! If Pell survived, Brook is going to survive. So between his dream and the fact that there wouldn't be a huge emotional revelation of killing off Brook, no offense, boss, but I don't think you're anyone's favorite character. You're cool though. I think it's safe to say Brook has no chance of dying. Moving on to the next character who's definitely going to make it to the end, it's Nami. This one also doesn't take a whole lot of reasoning because of the fact that she's one of the only Straw Hats that isn't a complete idiot. Most of the time. She's not taking place in many battles besides Wano being the main exception of that, and also I don't really see how Oda would justify killing her in any capacity. No particular character has a vendetta against her. She has never been foreshadowed of dying, and I know this is going to sound pretty stupid, but let's be honest, she doesn't give off the vibe of a character who's gonna die. We as a society have ruined the word vibe and aura. Jesus Christ. So next up, we got a little curveball for you guys in Vivi, who is technically a Straw Hat. Although she just writes her name at the top of the paper and doesn't really do much, she is a Straw Hat. But we're also moving into the section of characters who I would say have a slim but possible chance of dying. Her claim to Alabasta paired with her allegiance to the Straw Hats would warrant a lot of enemies. And although the anime hasn't gotten there yet, without spoiling anything in the manga, let's just say what went down in the Reverie would warrant a lot. And I mean a lot of people to want to kill her. Now, one of the reasons I also don't think she will die, don't worry, I won't make a habit of vibe being a reason, but it's because of her past and her heritage of the Nefertari family that undoubtedly has links to the Void Century that I don't see Oda ending off such a storied family that has so much to do with the lore of One Piece. And let's be honest, Oda is pretty scared to kill off characters, so unless he lets Gege write the end of One Piece, a character like Vivi probably isn't going anywhere. But moving down the list to the big man, the boss on campus, Chopper. Yeah, I'm keeping this short and sweet, unless Chopper tries to roid up to hell and become the Rock of the One Piece universe, or he becomes a complete candy junkie. He's not going anywhere. Who's he gonna beef with? A Kainu? Or Emu? They'd have to pop up and be like, no, Luffy, Chopper is the next Joy Boy. Like, nah, maybe pre-time skip Chopper that had that reindeer in him would have popped out, but nah, he gonna live. Next up, we got the kindest Straw Hat, the big friendly robot in Franky. If I had to put a percentage on Franky dying, it would probably be around 10 to 15%, meaning anyone below him is lower than that, but Franky could definitely go out in a blaze of glory-esque fashion. And what I mean by blaze of glory would be a situation where he pushes himself in the final battle to save the crew in some regard that also leads to his death. What I'm picturing is a lot like Pedro, except we'll actually care, and a common argument in One Piece used to theorize character deaths is knowledge. Now, I anticipate that by the end of One Piece, a lot of knowledge is going to be privy to all the characters in the story, so I don't really see how that would lead to Franky's death, and similar to Nami, there just doesn't seem to be a reason to kill him off. He did in a lot of ways already achieve his dreams, but I don't see how that would be enough to warrant killing off the big man. From a structural standpoint, Oda has always liked to pair Franky with the fun villains like Senor Pink. I think he's going to do the same in the final battle. And before we get to the next character who's probably going to die, why don't you leave a like on this video and subscribe, because 99% of you aren't subscribed. Moving into the territory of the people that might die, and we got Sanji. So Sanji, man. If he smokes about 5 cigarettes an episode at a rate of over 1,000 episodes, that is 5,000 cigarettes. If the whole story of One Piece is about 3 years, so that's about 15,000 cigarettes. So in turn, the black leg is actually going to turn into the black lung. Alright. So Sanji dying of cigarettes would make every Zoro fan ecstatic, but in actuality, Oda did allude to his death somewhat in Wano, with his raid suit taking over his body, but he wrapped it up real quick, and a lot of his personal arc is wrapped up, because Whole Cake Island, in terms of the deep trauma and personal standpoints, is done. And then from a fighting standpoint, he's definitely moving into the territory of someone that could die from a fight, but something I want to note here is the fact that we don't know if the Straw Hats are going to sweep the Blackbeard Pirates and sweep the Marines. Most of the time, they do sweep out their enemies, but if Oda decides to change it up and Sanji loses his matchup and dies, it's something that could happen, but no trend in the story really points to that. And Sanji's dream of finding the All Blue, which is seemingly going to happen after the bulk of the story ends, it doesn't really make much sense for him to die before then. But if I'm being honest, I do want Sanji to die, because I feel the emotional impact of that would just shock everyone. It will send tremors throughout the fan base, and it would be so epic to see, as crazy as that sounds. But that's just a hypothetical. So moving on to characters with real evidence of death, in Zoro. The Zoro Grim Reaper section of Wano is easily one of the weirdest things of Wano. Wano in general had a lot of weird things. Zunisha pulling up for no reason, Shanks coming to promote Film Red, Green Bull being a loser, Yamato's whole character arc being about leaving Wano only to stay, Carrot becoming the leader of the Minks, Kaido's backstory being terrible. Why were the Big Mom Pirates even there? Very, very weird stuff throughout Wano, but the Zoro Grim Reaper section might just take the cake. I don't know if Oda just wanted to draw something really cool, but if he did intend something by it, we got no idea what. There's a bunch of videos trying to break it down, and nobody really got it down packed, I feel. But anyways, for him to die, it would mean that he fought and defeated Mihawk prior to the final battle, and you could do a whole video on where the placement of that fight is going to be, because if he doesn't fight Mihawk before the final war, then it's in the epilogue. Then you assume he's going to live, and if it's after the fact and Shiru kills him, I feel that would also be disappointing and unrealistic. And also his Admiral matchup seemingly being Fujitora, I don't see that ending in death either. Hell, I feel like Fujitora is going to end up on their side, which would then make his matchup Kizaru, but Kizaru has always been paired up with Sanji, so then it would be Green Bull, and Green Bull's a bum, so he's not going to kill Zoro, and I think you see the issues. For Zoro to die, you obviously need someone to kill him, and there doesn't really seem to be anyone that would do that. The only route that can diverge from this is if Oda goes down the path of Zoro dying whilst also taking out his opponent, which is somewhat unlikely, but still possible, and it would be pretty badass. The funniest way Zoro could die is if Mihawk kills him, and that would just be crazy. It'd be like, after 2,000 chapters, you still aren't strong enough. But anyways, moving on to the one that everyone in the world is after in Nico Robin. Now, like I said earlier, from an informational standpoint, I think it's pretty easy to predict that all of the special knowledge she is privy to, most of the characters will be privy to by the end of the story, making that reason not strong enough to kill her. But she will be the only one to be able to read poneglyphs, and that type of knowledge you just can't pass on. There still is virtually every marine after her, but if you think about it from a story perspective, there isn't many characters that can expose the truth of the Void Sentry. You have Vegapunk maybe, and Tsunisha maybe, and that really just leaves her. And we know for sure Oda is going to drop the lore of the Void Sentry, so for her to be dead, it would be pretty hard to do that. And like I said, I feel like if she tells everyone about her findings, it would make it weird to just kill her off after the fact. At that point, what would the Marines be accomplishing by killing her? As well as the fact that Enies Lobby was the peak of her arc, and she hasn't gotten as much focus from there. But I would still see it being on the table, especially from a fight perspective. She's definitely a candidate for characters that could lose their matchups in the final battle, mainly on the Blackbeard pirate side of the war, because from the Marine perspective, I would imagine Oda wants to get her a crazy get back for everything they did to her. I could even see Oda powering her up to be the one to take out Green Bull because of all the thematic comparisons there. And if Oda does go down the route of killing her, it would definitely mark a darker tone to the series. And the amount of times Oda has alluded to keeping One Piece lighthearted, I would lean to her living, but with the amount of routes available for her to die, I would say there's probably a 65% chance she's gonna live and then a 35% chance she's gonna die. Moving on to Jimbe, who I would say got the big old 50% chance of death, and his reasoning is the inverse of Nami. Now, I know this is gonna sound so stupid, and it's fine, but like I said, the vibe around Jimbe is a character who's gonna die. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna get killed for this in the comments, but it's mainly the sense of what does he need to do before the series ends. He's a character from the past generation. He has plenty of opportunity to lose his matchups. He's a character the whole cast is connected to, and a death would really inspire the Straw Hats. The only significant enemies he has are in the Big Mom Pirates, but if there was a character that really has no reason to live on and would be better used as a death, it would be Jimbe. And even in Reddit discussions and Twitter discussions, I've seen other people have this weird but synonymous feeling that Jimbe is just a character that seems like he's gonna die. And I don't want to spoil other series to you, but you know, there's that old character from the past generation that's cool, he's pretty strong but not the strongest, everyone vibes with him, and they just have to die because you need to kill off characters that people like. So for me, the vibe is just there. Alright, number 2 is the man, the myth, the idiot, Luffy. This shouldn't come as a shock to you. Everything from bro having heart failure to Gear 5 sucking life force out of him, to him giving up 10 years of his life, his reckless nature, dying at the end of One Piece is a real possibility. In terms of how he will die, it's obviously not going to be through a fight. I just don't see Oda writing a story where the Straw Hats don't win all their fights, and Luffy obviously has to find the One Piece in the end, but him dying after finding the One Piece, just like Roger, is a real possibility, because how would 2 Piece start without him dying? Seriously, I actually see how Roger dying being the same way Luffy will die. Just something to inspire the next generation. Another route some people theorize on Luffy's death is just a flash forward to the last bit of One Piece, showing him off old and then him dying, and having one of the other Straw Hats narrate his life, because there is a theory that the entire story of One Piece is just Usopp's book. But anyone that thinks Luffy is gonna die in battle, it's just not gonna happen. With Oda, unfortunately, he's just not gonna kill off Luffy, but Luffy mirroring Roger's death in a more hopeful manner can definitely happen. And I don't think Oda just threw all this evidence of Luffy dying at us for no reason. Between him and Logtown not really caring all that much about his death and him accepting it, using the gears in Eni's lobby with no thought of repercussions, to him spamming gear 4, him losing his life essence and Impo down, him spamming gear 5 to becoming drained of energy. There's just reasons there that can't be ignored, but I hope, oh my goodness, I hope it's not some nonsense where Luffy finds a One Piece, but it's something bullshitty like hockey sickness, and for that reason, the rest of his life he can't use hockey or some weird power system loop. I hate when anime practically kills off a character and then brings them back in an uber nerfed state. Like, bro, it just sucks. So Luffy dying is a real possibility, but if not death, there's something serious that will happen to him by the end of the story. Now, the most likely, and in my head, he is already dead, it's Usopp. The big man on campus, he said he wants to be known as a legendary warrior. See, well, legends implies death. I'm gonna speedrun this explanation because there's large pieces of evidence alluding to Usopp's death, namely the fact that whenever Usopp says something, it typically comes true in some fashion. And there's millions of videos explaining this concept, so I see Usopp becoming as strong as he claims he is in the final battle, leading a great army much like Sokka from Avatar, and maybe temporarily becoming the strongest character in the series, only for him to die at the end. There's also a bunch of cover pages and One Piece Pythagoras theorem alluding to Usopp's death, and to be honest, it just makes sense. Jimbe dying is a real possibility, but I think someone from the East Blue Saga needs to die as well, just so there's a level of intensity, and I think in the mind of most people, Usopp is that guy. So RIP big bro, you will be missed, and if you enjoyed this video, you gotta check out my Zoro vs Sanji debate. We get real into the weeds there, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and we're just getting started. We're gonna stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video.